Roger, Roger. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Ridgecrest City Council. I wish you guys all first a very happy holidays on this 1st of December, which we will rename Panda Express Day. And if I can ask everyone to go ahead and call this meeting to order with roll call.
Mayor Bruin.
Here.
Mr. Blades.
Present.
Mr. Rajaratnam.
Present.
Mr. Heyman.
Present.
Ms. Breeden.
Present.
5 present. We have a quorum.
Okay, next item is approval of the agenda as presented. Is there any changes to the agenda, or do I have a motion for approval? I do understand we will be moving item number 6 to item number 3. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's one change that was advised, is item number 6 will move up to number 3. Beyond that, are there any other changes to the agenda?
No, I motion we approve with the changes.
I have a motion with approval.
Second.
Please vote.
It's after. You do agenda, then pledge.
And 5 ayes. Motion carries.
Next item is our first opening of our regular session. Can I ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Captain, will you lead us? Chief. I demoted him. Whoops.
Ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to pay for that one later. Woo! Oh, certification. I am not here.
You're good. You're doing good.
Okay. Solomon, if you would lead us, please.
Please join me in prayer if you would. Lord, thank you for giving us this day. Lord, as we celebrated Thanksgiving last week, Lord, we are thankful for so many things, so many blessings. We are thankful for our families. We are thankful for our friends. Lord, we are thankful for this beautiful city of Ridgecrest, which you have given to us, Lord. And we are thankful for the blessing and the opportunity and the privilege you have given to the council to serve this community. Lord, we are under unprecedented times, having so many challenges. Lord, we ask you for your guidance to lead us and to perform our duties diligently and to our best effort, Lord, so that we give our best to this community. Be with all of us who are here. Bless each one of us. Bless the families, bless the children of our community. Give them your protection and your joy during this season, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Apologies, Chief, and I got myself all mixed up. Next item on our agenda is our presentations this evening, which is for Family Court Awareness Month. If the council would care to join me at the podium, and Peggy, I'm assuming you're staying up here? Are you coming down? Stay in there, okay.
I bet he wishes that was the reason.
So this evening I get the opportunity to recognize Family Court Awareness Month. For those of you who saw our last meeting, I mentioned this. We just had a timing issue with November versus December. So November is actually the month of Family Court Awareness, but we're recognizing them here on December 1st with our first meeting in December. I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation, then I'm going to ask the group to come on up so I can share it with them. First is a proclamation of the City of Ridgecrest, California, recognizing Family Court Awareness Month. Whereas the mission at One Mom's Battle and the Family Court Awareness Month Committee is to increase awareness on the importance of a family court system that prioritizes child safety and acts in the best interest of children. And whereas the mission at the FCAMC is to increase awareness on the importance of education and training on domestic violence, childhood trauma, and post-separation abuse for all professionals working within the family court system. And whereas the mission at the FCAMC is to educate judges and other family court professionals on the empirical data and research that is currently available, such as the Adverse Child Experience Study, Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. There's a word missing there. Saunders Study and the Meyer Study, Child Custody Outcomes in Cases Involving Abuse and Allegations, and whereas the mission at the FCAMC is fueled by the desire for awareness and change in the family court system while honoring the 800-plus children in the United States who have been murdered by a parent after a custody court rejected the other parent's plea for protection, and whereas One Mom's Battle works to educate judges and other family court professionals that it only takes one personality-disordered parent to create a high-conflict divorce, and the mission at One Mom's Battle is to increase awareness of high-conflict divorces and child custody battles and their impact upon children and parents of family violence. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, we, the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest, does hereby proclaim the month of November as Family Court Awareness Month, proclaim this first day of December 2021 for November 21. If I can have Holly and her groups come on up. I mentioned last month the importance of recognizing this, especially in regards to our local judicial system. Come over here. That way the camera can see you. The importance, especially with the recent challenges and conversations we've had about our judicial system and why it's so important to keep local courts inside Ridgecrest. And we want to again thank the Kern County Superior Justice System who understood that and recognized the importance of maintaining this family court system here for our community. Holly, thank you for your battle and for bringing it to my attention, and then more importantly, for your month. Thank you. And we're going to take a picture right here.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Holly Hoppus, and I'm a resident of the City of Ridgecrest. I am a mother of 4, a business owner in town, an advocate, and a survivor of domestic violence. I have escaped severe domestic violence twice and have gone to the family court system each time seeking protection and peace for myself and my children. I was met both times with the reality that family court officials are uneducated about domestic violence and post-separation abuse, as well as the lasting effects these issues have on children. Domestic violence is about power and control, and the desire to maintain power and control does not mysteriously vanish when the relationship has ended. The family court system becomes the new platform for abuse. And most would be shocked to know, in most states, family court judges preside with 0 training in childhood trauma or domestic violence. If they do have training, it's very minimal. Often when a parent flees domestic violence, the abusive partner continues to use coercive control to maintain power over the ex-partner and the children, resulting in emotional, psychological, and financial distress. Abusive ex-partners also often use smear campaigns and untruthful court filings to maintain control and ensure their victims have little to no support from friends, family, the family court, and the community. When family court officials are unable to recognize this for what it is and label the case high conflict, rather than the abusive parent a high conflict person, the commonly issued joint custody orders place children with abusive parents, and this is devastating to the child's well-being. The result of these custody orders are sometimes even fatal, due to the abusive parent's need to maintain control and to hurt and punish the safe parent even long after the relationship has ended. We need a family court system that recognizes domestic violence and post-separation abuse so that victims of family violence feel safe in seeking protection from our family courts, and so that the result is truly in the best interest of the children. Our goal for Family Court Awareness Month is to open the lines of communication while shining a spotlight on the empirical research and data that is available on all these topics. This data is not being utilized. Our children's lives are literally dependent on the courts becoming educated on these issues. I am so grateful to Mayor Bruin, each of the city council members, and the City of Ridgecrest of Kern County, California, for joining the 225 cities, counties, and states that have proclaimed November as Family Court Awareness Month. I would also like to thank the Women's Center for being here. tonight showing their support. And thank you all for standing with me and the Family Court Awareness Month Committee to recognize the importance of a court system that prioritizes child safety. We need to prioritize well-being and safety for our most precious treasure, our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ollie. And I always say this community doesn't understand what an incredible resource we have in the High Desert Women's Shelter and everything they've done to support protecting families in this community. Check in with them, and they do a lot. Okay, next item on the agenda is our public comment section, public comment of items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are that are within the council jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time pursuant to the Brown Act. City Council may not take action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. Public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour, and each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. We'll go ahead and start with the phone lines. Is there any public comment from the phones? Caller, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Mike Neal. I'd like to just brief comment on recent events basically around the nation that have gone on because of this COVID fraud being perpetrated upon the country. And now, as now you see, we have at least a few right-thinking judges who have this matters brought before them, and they're saying not only is this unconstitutional, but in a couple of cases, one of the judges basically said the whole mandate thing is ridiculous. Yet we have citizens come to our city council several meetings back and get told, well, there's only 30 of you in here complaining about mask mandates at the school and the other stuff, so we don't really care about what you have to say. Well, guess what? City council has proven themselves to be basically irrelevant as far as this kind of stuff goes. People have figured out they can't count on you to stand up for their freedoms, but guess what? We don't need you. We're just not going for it. We're just not going to have this stuff, and you can just go and get your ARPA funds granted out fraudulently to a bunch of park stuff instead of what it's supposed to be for, which is helping businesses bounce back from the COVID effects. And, you know, just concentrate on treating your job like a big business concern and make everything look pretty and get more Chipotle's in town and stuff like that instead of standing up for people's freedom. So we'll take care of that, and you just go on about the other little basically inconsequential stuff, and we'll do fine. But don't count on getting reelected next go around in next November. If any of you who want to try to get your post again, because I think we're going to find that there's going to be some better people popping up out of the background to take your place, and then maybe we'll see a city council who's willing to stand up for its people's rights. So I'll say goodbye in advance to you and exit from your positions. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other callers? Caller, state your name.
Good evening, Mayor Bruin. This is Mallory Boyd calling. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So I have a counter opinion that was just offered. I appreciate all of what you guys are doing. I understand the struggles that you have and the things, the balancing act that you have to deal with to come up with policies that fit the majority of the citizens of Ridgecrest and nearby communities. Hats off to all of you. I have a minor complaint, and I don't know who to share this with. It's not a complaint to you guys, but it's something that I've observed a couple of times when driving around in Ridgecrest. At the intersections of Inyakern Road and China Lake Boulevard and the intersection of Norma and Inyakern Road, I've noticed while in the left turn lane trying to head down Inyakern Road on both those avenues that people seem to have difficulty navigating properly onto the southbound lanes. particularly at the main intersection at the base, because it's a 2-lane left turn. And so I've had some near collisions. I haven't actually had an accident yet, but they're close enough, and it makes you wonder when it's going to happen. But I'm curious if there's something that the city can do to reach out to Caltrans or whoever owns or has the authority to stripe lanes, left turn lanes. It might also be useful at the intersection of Trona Road and China Lake Boulevard. Anyway, hats off to you guys. Keep up the great work, and hopefully this will be something that's an easy problem to solve. Good night. Happy December.
Thanks, Mallory.
Thanks, Mallory. And we'll see what we can find out for you. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Next caller. Caller, state your name.
Hi, this is Kathy Brown. Hi, guys. I just want to say one thing. I think the council's doing a terrific job. I think you're representing the community. You each all have individual input. I think it's highly appreciated. And I just want to put a kudos to you guys. Keep it up. And happy holidays to the council, because you're hardworking people, and I appreciate it. And I'm so glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have any other callers? No callers? We'll go ahead and begin public comment from the floor. Is there any public comment from the floor? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Thank you to the callers and for all of our public commenters. Next item is council announcements. We'll go ahead and start. We'll go right to left. So Peggy, I'm gonna let you be the first.
I don't want to take anybody's thunder on some of the announcements that are coming up. So
Come on, it's
those
Christmas.
that are
Take
more
one.
closely involved in it, deal with it. Go
All
ahead.
the thunder.
I offered you thunder, and you passed
you.
it for
Well,
snowfall. I'm just playing.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, Scott, any council announcements?
No comments.
I'm trying not to be the one to talk so much here, guys. Solomon, you got any public comment? Council announcements?
No comment.
Oh, you are just wrong. Okay, well, a few council announcements. For those of you who are unaware, please join us Friday evening for the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. We'll be beginning at 4 p.m. The lighting will be at 6 p.m. There's going to be crafts, and there might be a jolly red elf, a jolly old elf in a red suit that'll come by and say hi. As well, this weekend is, of course, what I would consider a Ridgecrest tradition, very much so, because I remember from the first day I arrived here, going to it and loving it, and I'm looking forward to being back to it, which is Santa's Art Shop, is this weekend at the Desert Empire Fairgrounds. I encourage everyone to get out there. That is a locally grown program, and there's no other way to know that we're definitely in season other than that. And then, of course, it is the holiday season, so where could we stop there? But on the 11th of December at 9 a.m., I would invite everyone in the community to come out for the Elks Children's Parade. That begins, it comes down Balsam Street from Home Depot, and I know that there happens to be some Cub Scouts and some other people out there. If you went to the 9/11 parade or the Parade of 1,000 Flags, these are just such fun days to get out there. We promise we're not going to be throwing candy or trying to avoid any COVID problems, but what a better way to get out and be part of the community and have a great time. And if you're, and then I can't say anything else about the 11th unless at the end. So, any other council announcements? I'm trying to think of anything. There's so much going on. I already said it was Panda Day. But see, he's got a comment, but he can't get it. I mean, welcome to Panda Express. I got a chance to stop by there and meet the manager last night and welcome him to our community. And from what I've heard, there might have been a line or two there today. And I hope everyone enjoyed it. And remember that it will be here for more than just one day. And you can go to it for lunch tomorrow, I promise. Okay? Outside of that, any other holiday announcements before the meeting on the 15th? Can't think of anything. No? Art shop? Alex Braid? Okay. Okay, next item is item number 2, which is the approval of the draft minutes of the Ridgecrest City Council dated November 3rd and November 17th. Do I have any amendments or changes to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second.
Please vote.
Okay.
5 ayes, motion carries.
I did not follow the script very well that time, did I?
It's okay. You're all good.
I am not in script mode tonight. And now I'm missing the other page of my script. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 6, which we've moved up to item number 3, which item number 6 is a public hearing, a resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council authorizing a one-time essential employee hazard pay to be paid to city employees. Well, Sheree.
Good evening, Council. This is a resolution to use the ARPA funding, the one-time ARPA funding, to give the employees a one-time essential employee hazard pay. As you know, we discussed at the ARPA workshop that one of the uses for the ARPA funds is to respond to workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 pandemic. And even though our employees have not received a cost of living raise since 2008, they have shown resiliency and perseverance during the pandemic. So this pay would recognize their hard work and dedication during a time when the community depended on them the most. This would be paid out in 3 installments. One has already been approved. It was approved in April of 2001. So this would be repaying the general fund for that payment. The second installment would be paid this month, December of 2021, and then the third installment would be paid in June of 2022. And the second and third installments would both be $1,500 for all current full-time employees. The full-time employees would have to be here for 6 months to qualify for the hazard pay. And the total cost of this one-time essential employee hazard pay for all 3 installments is $424,142. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Okay, we'll start with the council first. Any council questions? It's a good sign that we all know exactly where we stand.
I'm sorry. Just a quick.
Had to do it.
I can't. Just a quick question. So it's just the employee would have had to have been here for 6 months, like just like so from today, 6 months ago.
Yes. So to qualify for the December installment, they would have to have been here from July 1st and still employed as of December 12th. And then it would be paid in their regular check on December 17th.
Okay, thank you. All that.
And similarly, the June one, they'll have to be here. They would already be employed by January 1, at least 6 months.
Tracking. That's all I got.
And so just an important note to understand is we are replenishing general funds that we agreed to in April, but we all were aware of based on ARP that we knew we would be coming back at this point. And then secondarily, there's no better way to stress that the staff is the ones that went through. You guys were more than essential. You were critical mass employees. These are our officers, our staff workers, our maintenance people, the people that there was no, I don't want to call it a COVID break because that's the wrong term for it, but there was no COVID interruption in their work requirements. So very much so. We'll go ahead and ask if there's any public comment. And seeing none, I'll go ahead and bring it back to the council. If I'm hearing no other discussion, do I have a motion for approval of the resolution as presented?
So move.
Second. I have a motion and second.
Please vote. Five ayes, motion carries.
Once again, thank you to our staff. We greatly appreciate your efforts more than anything else, guys. And we're proud that we can do this. This is awesome. This is just one more step, and we haven't forgot the rest. Okay, we'll now go back to our normally scheduled programming and begin with item number 3, which is the discussion regarding the IWV Groundwater Authority. Mr. Heyman.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was not present at the last City Council meeting, so I did not get to update everybody on the November 10th GA meeting, so I will go over a few things and kind of bring you up to date on that. So one of the things that we approved was a letter to AVEC, which is Antelope Valley East Kern Water District, for, I guess we could call it an engagement letter to discuss purchasing imported water. So we're going to start the process with them on options, and so we'll have more to report back to you here in the future. And so that was a real positive item that we covered. The PAC is back to meeting again and working hard. I actually attended PAC meeting last night, and so a couple of the items that they're working on, the community engagement issue and the temporary water usage. So the community engagement aspect I'm really interested in, because I think it's important that we are able to inform and educate the public and everyone on what's going on in the GA. So I'm excited to see what comes of that. It's going to be carried over to the next meeting, the next PAC meeting, and so then once they're done, then they will bring it back to the board for review. And same with the temporary water usage. They're going over definitions and parameters of the temporary water use, where, say, like for the construction sites or emergency uses, what are the parameters of the temporary water usage. So we'll report back to you on that. An item that was brought up at the tail end of the meeting back in November will be looked at again on the agenda for next week's meeting, and that's the chair rotation. And what that pertains to is that the chairmanship rotates between the big three, and so the water district is next in line to take over the chairmanship. There were some questions brought up as to whether they would be able to perform that job in a efficient manner because of lawsuits and conflict of interest and having to recuse themselves. And so that's going to be assessed at the next board meeting, and decisions made on that. So that's really all I have at this point in time. So I'm open to any questions or comments from the council.
Just a quick question. It's been an ongoing conversation, and I've been relatively unplugged for the last month or so. Has the Groundwater Authority, has the board made any progress in working out the finances? They were working with the manager on getting all the finances pulled into a system. Has there been any progress on that front that you're aware of?
Actually, there has. They're working on the new computer software program that they're going to be utilizing, and so there's been some changes on the accounting format at the last meeting was presented, and it looks much more readable, more legible. It's just more understandable to see what money is coming from where and where it's being put and directed, and that's going to be improved upon even more so. I believe I heard at the PAC meeting that the general manager saying that in the next few months they hope to have a pretty updated version of the accounting and finance, which has been a big issue and been a concern of many folks in the public and both on the board, and so that's another very positive outcome that the board has been.
No, I'd say so. That's great. Okay.
Scott, I heard at the last meeting when Stan Rotora, who was one of the most vocal critics of the financial arrangements, say that how much better it's getting and how much easier it is to understand and be able for the public to participate. So I commend the board and staff for getting to that point. I know there's still more to go, but I'm very proud of what they're doing. So pass that on, please.
You bet. I would pass that straight back down to the staff and to the general manager and to those that are working really hard at putting this together. So, but I'll definitely pass that along.
On the public outreach front that the PAC is working on, do they make any progress on? Did anything come out of that they're going to work? Any goals they're working towards? And I know you can't really
like any specifics other than
I'm just wondering, because it seems to me that one of the primary issues with any kind of consternation or turmoil in the public, usually 9 times out of 10, it's either lack of information or misinformation. I don't think that's any one entity's fault. I'm not blaming anybody, but it is still it exists. It's an issue.
So at this point, I believe we could say it's in the format stage of, how, what's the community engagement, going to look like, as far as how it will be utilized, and no individual, like items but, we all have our thoughts on,
sure.
probably where it should go up, but I'd like to see it as a, hopefully a tools, to educate, not only the public, but, everyone that's associated with, the water issue in the big picture.
Thanks. That's all I got.
And like I said before, the PAC will be working on that on their next meeting, and I believe that will be tentatively December 16th, if all is. Okay, so we're working on the date, but it is going to be moved. They will be working on those two. Those two items will be like primary issues that the PAC is currently working on.
Roger. Thanks.
Then I know in October you guys hired a consultant to look at the bond.
Yes.
And I know that he reported there wasn't a lot to known yet. They're still working the process. What's the general timeline for when they're expected to report back?
That is actually an agenda item for next week's meeting.
Awesome.
And so we'll be, I'll be able to report back to you on the following council meeting as to where, I know they're working on it. It's in progress. So we'll have an update for you on the next meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other council comments? Okay. And we'll go ahead and first public comment. Any public comment on the phones? Caller, state your name.
Yes, my name is Mike Neal. Listened to the last GA meeting with pretty much discussed when they got to the item where they brought in John Vallejo from Inyo County to pinch hit and throw the ball out there about basically, we don't trust the water district. They've been a problem for us. We don't really want to have their representative chairing the meeting. Trying to find excuses to say that they don't have, they're not in a position to do that. I'll just have to say that the water district has been the sole entity on this board that has actually shown themselves interested in what people want and the needs of the people and the impact of all this on the people in this town. And Stan Rotora would stand to be the best, the most capable, and highest integrity chair that this GA board has had since its inception. It's far contrast to Mick Gleason, for sure. Yet this board doesn't seem to think they can stand having him in the chair of the board meetings. When in fact, all the chair does is help run the meetings. He has no additional powers whatsoever above and beyond any of the board members. But I'm sure that Keith Lemieux and Phil Hall just really are grinding their teeth, seeming as, just at the fact that he might get to actually be seen as chair and the water district could be seen with a slight bit more prominence. But as far as I'm concerned, I would just invite the GA to go ahead and vote Stan out of the chairmanship immediately after he's installed as chair. And then you'll just enrage the people that are already pretty much enraged with this GA board so much already, again, that they'll be rising up and demanding that we find a way to get rid of this incompetent and just ridiculously overly expensive GA board. And there's a way to do that. So it's not a real hard way to do that. And then in that case, we'll be done with what's been foisted on us, and maybe then we'll have a GA board that actually cares about and listens to the people in this valley, as opposed to what we have right now, with the exception of Mr. Rotora, who does care and he does listen and he does try to do the right thing. So go ahead and show your colors and vote him out of his chairmanship just because you don't like having such a person in that seat. I invite you to do so. Goodbye.
I'd like to say something here.
Thank you, sir.
No, not thank you, because it's not fair. Your characterization of what Mr. Vallejo said, totally inaccurate, unfair, unfortunate, and it deprives Mr. Vallejo and Mr. Retora of what was said and done. Shame on you. That was not fair at all, and he did not say that, and it's a legal issue. It has nothing to do who's right or wrong. If you're in, I don't want to comment on legal issues, but if you're going to have a chair who can't fully participate because the entity is in a legal issue, I want a chairman who can fully participate, whoever that is, and whether it be from whatever agency. I want the participation, the ability to answer and direct staff and talk for our entities because they are. So I'm not going to hear that somebody is wonderful or somebody is bad. You have your opinion. You happen to be wrong in this one. Thank you. Now, thank you.
I got a follow-up question for Scott. That's at least when I read in the paper, it seems like a mischaracterization of the board, of what they think of Stan Rotora and the job that he's doing. What is it that the Groundwater Authority Board, they express an issue? What is that issue? What is the actual characterization? Could you summarize that, Scott? Because here's the reason I'm doing a follow-up and asking you that question. The city of Ridgecrest and the water district are having discussions, positive discussions, and we have a fine relationship. The last thing we need is anybody to think there's a public perception of that there's some kind of poisoning of the well. That's not what's happening, at least as I understand it. So then I'm, at least as our representative, I'm just asking, what is your interpretation of this specific issue?
Right, and so I think it's clear to say it's not directed at Director Rotora in him or his person at all. It has to do with the water district. There is a lawsuit that they have filed, the adjudication lawsuit. So they're directly involved with that. So there's worry or concern whether or not with conflict of interest, whether they can fulfill their job in an efficient manner with it. So I think it boils down to the simplicity of that. And so that'll be discussed, at the meeting, and of course actions, taken at that time. So
right.
There's been many, times where they've had to recuse themselves or not, attend a meeting at all. And I think that's probably part of the concern.
Sure. Well, it could be the case the water district feels the same way, right? I'm
sorry?
It could be the case that the water district feels the same way.
In that might be an issue?
Yeah.
Sure. And that's why we'll be discussing it. And
sure.
So that is the intent of, the agenda item.
All right. I just wanted to recage the conversation. As we don't need to get off on any negative tangents.
There's legal purposes. Okay, I believe I have another caller. Caller, state your name. Go ahead and caller. Caller, state your name.
Mike Sanat.
Please go ahead, sir.
I really wish you guys would figure out a way to work with the water district, and this conversation that you're having regarding the water district chair position has nothing to do with conflict of interest. It just has to do with the position that's been taken by the city and Inyo County. San Bernardino's on the fence regarding this. The only thing that would be a reason for the water district not to be on the chair would be if they weren't fulfilling some kind of duty to participate as a board member. But the only thing the chair does is essentially conduct the meeting. I mean, the agenda is not going to be affected. It's more of just a conducting of the meeting position, and as far as Inyo County, Inyo County's the problem, or part of the problem here. They've not done anything other than obstruct, as you know. And if you have any argument with that comment, I'd like to hear it. They don't have an interest in our water basin other than keeping us out of their area and out of their money pot, which is COSO geothermal. And the other thing I'd like to mention when it comes to communicating with the public and the percentages, how you like to pretend like, well, there's only 2 people complaining, so people must not be happy. I think people don't care. They just don't care. There's other things that they got to worry about. And that's unfortunate. The PAC is trying to come up with a communications plan. You're trying to come up with a communications plan. There's 12 people watching on YouTube right now. 12 people. I don't know how many people are sitting in the audience, but I think you're struggling with a problem that a lot of government agencies are having, and that's getting their word out. And I don't really know what the solution is. The other thing that I'd like to mention is you're committed to a plan through this groundwater authority that's totally infeasible. I mean, it's ludicrous to be importing water from Antelope Valley or anywhere else. If you looked at some of the things that I've sent you by email on COSO geothermal, COSO geothermal planted a large pump right at COSO Junction. That's water in our basin, and they're not part of this. They're not part of the pumping category. They're not even considered. So the groundwater authority has got a structural problem. The management area isn't proper. DWR will likely fail the plan. If they don't, I'd be really surprised. So I think that there's going to be a change either way in the plan, and I think that the idea that you're going to finance the tertiary treatment facility with revenue from selling the treated sewage to the groundwater authority, that's not going to work. So you really need to think through this whole thing. $4 million out of pocket to your residents. You're representing residents in the city of Ridgecrest, and those are water district customers. So there's an agency conflict here. You're supposed to be representing all of us, and you're not. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And just on the record, I absolutely agree with you that one of the biggest problems that we have nationwide, community-wide, statewide is apathy.
Yeah, I mean it's been, you know, something that hasn't just arisen after the pandemic started. It's unfortunate, and I want to see it. I want to see people get along, and I want to see a solution. But this whole plan, thanks to Mick Gleason, thanks to the Navy's undue influence in this whole process, has really ruined the essence of what we're trying to do, and that's, you know, sustain our basin of water. Every aspect of this thing has been massaged to put us into the category of severe overdraft, and we're not. We're really not as in severe overdraft. We have a problem with the agriculture, and I've offered a solution on that. This is so harmful to the valley and to the economic and real estate values. I don't think people realize what the implications are of this allocation, and this is a serious issue. And I really I can't tell you how important it is that you guys become as informed on this as possible, because this is a killer for this valley, the way it's being done. So
thank you, Mike.
I really,
Mike, I'm already quite a bit over time. I appreciate your comments, though.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Is there any other public comment on the phones? Seeing none, is there any public comment from the floor? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and bring it back to council. Is there any other council questions or comments raised either from the comments or for Mr. Heyman? I think we addressed the biggest one, which is, you file a lawsuit, we have to sometimes ask questions. It doesn't mean that it's about a person, it's just about the situation.
Yeah, no, and I just want to reiterate to the public, I mean, I know we only have 10 people or so watching, but Mike was right. We do represent the people, and we are doing that, and we have a lot of varying opinions that come at us constantly. We do often hear more, negatives shouted than we do the people of a different opinion, but we're doing everything we can, at least as far as the city council is concerned. We are moving forward with a plan that is the best thing we got. That's what we got, and that's what we're moving forward with. And it hasn't been perfect, and there have been some things that have been bumps on the road, and the Groundwater Authority is working through it. That is as well as they can. And I would like to also add, I'm going to reiterate this, that we are working with a water district. There's not some negative relationship out there that is, there's not some toxic relationship where we're not working together. We're having good conversations. Our managers are in touch. The electeds are in touch. Let's not have the false perception that there's a problem there. There's not. We're all working together. And yeah, we have varying opinions. We have differing opinions.
There's a legal disagreement that has to be resolved.
Sure, and those are actual they're positive discussions, because sometimes we have to rely on the court to drag it out. So Scott, I don't know if you had something to add to that.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one of the things I wanted to readdress, was that the city, we have been in constant connection with the water district. We have met with them here in the not too far past. We will be meeting with them again. And, the discussions will be broad-based and not just one single topic. They're solution-oriented, and we will continue to engage and work with the water district and to find solutions. So, yeah, and that I want to just confirm that we are working with them.
Yeah, I could just tell you that I'm not trying to just talk on and on and on, but this is important. It's probably the most important thing that's going on in our city at this moment. And the last thing that I want to do is get off this council at some point and be sitting years from now looking back thinking I did nothing just because it was hard. Just because it was difficult to tell the public that we have a hard job to do. Yeah, it's not easy, but that's why we're elected, to sit up here and make hard decisions and do hard things. And I don't want to. I would be embarrassed to sit here years from now looking back thinking I did nothing. So I'm sure the rest of you feel the same way.
I can just say I know there are council members who I am close with who kicked themselves for not addressing water a decade ago, or even 2 decades ago. We kicked this thing down, and we're now in the middle of it, and we got to see it through. That's the hardest part. Thank you for that, Kyle. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 4. Item number 4 is a resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council accepting an irrevocable offer of dedication and grant of street and utility easement from Ridgecrest Pacific Associates in the city of Ridgecrest, County of Kern, State of California, and authorizing the city manager to sign the certificate of acceptance and the city clerk to record the document. Mr. Reed.
Good evening, council. Can you guys all hear me?
We can, sir.
All right. Sorry, I'm not there in person tonight, first of all. Second of all, so this is pretty cut and dry, pretty easy one. This is just offer of dedication to the city from the landowner in order to allow public improvements to go in and tie into our existing easements on Norma. And with that, there's an attached offer of dedication, legal description, and plat map. I probably should have given you guys an aerial image to where you know where this is, so I apologize for that. But if you look, it's pretty easy. It's right off the Norma, right where the new apartment complex is going in on the north side there. So with that, I'm open for any questions.
Hey, Travis, do you have two devices going on your end?
No.
Okay. Well, we got a little bit of an echo coming from you.
Is that better?
That's better.
Much better.
Okay, I took it off the speaker. I was trying to talk so I could flip around, but there you go. I'll do it this way from now on.
Obviously, let me start with the most important council comment, which is congratulations to Mojave View Apartments for breaking ground and being underway in their construction. We're looking forward to the addition of the housing units to our community, as well as continuing to improve our mission towards meeting our housing element requirements. With that said, I don't have any other concerns in regards to this easement, and I'll let any other council members share.
I had a little bit of a question, but I asked Rika. She cleared it up, so no concerns.
Nope. Okay, still a council comment. We'll go ahead and ask for any public comment. Is there any public comment on the phones? No public comment on the phones. Is there any public comment from the floor? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Do I have a motion for approval of the resolution as presented?
Motion.
I have a motion and second.
Second.
Please vote.
If you say it at the same time, I'm counting it as 1 and 2.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is item number 5, and this is a resolution to approve the professional service agreement with Wildan Engineering in the amount not to exceed $284,009, of which an initial amount of $123,578 shall be utilized to provide environmental document and design services. Thereafter, authorize staff to amend the agreement for an additional amount not to exceed $160,431 for construction engineering services for the city fiscal year 22 Measure V hot mix asphalt and chip seal construction project, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement and future amendment. Once again, Mr. Reed.
Good evening, council, again. So this is it coming through clear? Better?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this one's a little unorthodox. Staff's trying to look into some newer technology with recycled asphalt products, and with that comes a lot of unknowns and a lot of engineering that has to be done before we can determine if that's going to be an acceptable method of construction. Thus, the reason why we're bringing you this two-part document, but we wanted to not have to go back out and do the RFP process again, because that wastes almost a month and a half, 2 months of time, and we're already kind of under a time crunch to be able to get this done and out and plans designed before the next paving season. So essentially what we're asking you to do is nothing really out of the ordinary from what you're used to. The professional service agreement right now is, after we negotiated, was $284,009, as we stated above. We want you to authorize us to use the $123,578 for the preliminary engineering portion of it, and then give us the ability at a future date, if we need to authorize an amendment to go out for construction engineering purposes, which would be like inspection and things of that nature. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm open to field them.
I have some, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, my question was, it states this is coming out of Measure V, but he just said this is a little unorthodox. Can it still come out of Measure V?
Yeah, because this is all in relation to a road project. So Measure V, the only thing that's unorthodox is that we're not bringing you the whole contract in one. We're asking you to authorize $284,000 for us to spend, but we're only going to authorize them to spend the PE portion right now until we can get some more information and better refine the number for the construction engineering portion.
It's going to save us about 2 months to be able to move forward on the project.
Because they're not having to wait around. They're able to go get the design, the assessment done, and then go straight into the design because we've approved both essentially at the same time.
But if we don't,
Correct.
so the rest of my question then is, are we dedicating ourselves to something we don't know what the cost is on the other end?
We're not dedicating ourselves to anything because we'll have to authorize an amendment to their original purchase. So that's why we're only authorizing them to spend the $123,578 up front.
Well, sure, but you're not gonna plan engineer to go do a project and then be like, yeah, we're just not doing the rest of it.
No. But okay. So it's two phases. So this is to design it. $123,578 is for environmental and design services. So that should design the project. Once we know which methods of construction are going to be acceptable for us, we can then refine the number for the construction engineering services portion. So the construction engineering services portion, which is like time for inspection, we have big placeholder numbers in there because until we know what method of construction we're doing, we can't put a good number onto how much inspection time we're going to need.
But it will not exceed 160. That's what that says.
Okay, thank you. I'll buy that, Travis, for now. Only because Rick is backing you up over here.
Okay. Well, awesome. I'm glad to have Rick on my team.
Mr. Reed, I have a couple of questions. We already budgeted $180,000 for this project, correct?
Correct, for the preliminary engineering portion.
And
so that's for the first half.
Okay, so that was budgeted for the fiscal year 22?
That was budgeted actually for fiscal year 21, for the one we're in right now. So there's $180,000
No, we are in
budgeted
fiscal
for
year 22.
Fiscal year 22.
We are in fiscal
I'm
year
sorry, you're right.
22.
Yes, correct.
So
Correct. So yeah, so we have it budgeted for the first portion, but essentially what I want to do is be able to get your authorization to authorize an amendment later on and go right into the next portion of it if we get to that portion before the next fiscal year.
So you are asking for additional $104,009, correct?
That would be the addition right now based on what we think the worst case scenario of the project cost for professional services would be. Yes, sir.
Okay. Going to the resolution, Mr. Reed, do you have a copy of that in front of you?
I sure do.
Okay, third line on the top paragraph, it says not to exceed 286,077, which I think should be 284,009.
Yeah, so when I made the resolution, I missed once we negotiated, the prices changed, and that number was a precursor holder number, and I didn't get it updated, so that one needs to be updated.
So that needs to be corrected to 284,009.
Correct, sir.
Okay. And then going to the second page of the resolution, item number 5. So you said within fiscal year 21. So don't you think it should be fiscal year 22?
No, it should. That's a mix-up on my part, too. That's another mix on my part. It should be 22 if we're in 22. I don't know why I got my dates confused, thinking we're in fiscal year 21.
Unless it was carry. Just to clarify. So unless it was carryover from FY21.
Yeah.
Is it carryover?
That's not carryover, no. So
Okay.
that's the additional funds we want to be able to utilize if the project gets to that portion before fiscal year 23 starts.
Okay.
So last question, Mr. Reed, do we have any timeline for this project? Do we know when this would be completed?
So this project is the one that we took 23, 24, and the 25 stuff and mashed all together and tried to push forward. So we're trying to have design work done before the end of this winter so that way it can be put out to bid in the most optimum time for this to be paved in April, May, June of 22 time frame.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know about RAP.
You like right now, or do you want to talk later?
No, I'm just curious. What is the advantages of some of these you call newer proven technologies? Like recycled asphalt. Are these length extenders? Are these cost reducers? What are we looking to potentially gain out of this?
So the potential gain out of this is rather than hauling off the existing material that's there, we're actually going to pick it up, take it to a central plant, have them add some binders to it and lay it back down. So we don't lose any of the material we've already paid for. We basically recondition some of it, and then when we put our cap over the top of it, instead of having a 2-inch or a 3-inch structural asphalt section, we've spent the same money and have a 4 or 5-inch structural asphalt section. If you've driven out 178 in between Trona and Ridgecrest, that whole section of 178 was redone by Caltrans with a recycled asphalt product. They basically recycled the road that was in place there and then capped over the top of it, which is exactly what we want to try to do with some of these longer roads we're going to pave.
Well, I guess this is a question for you and for Travis. So Travis, are you saying the jury's still out, basically, that you want to use it?
So the jury's still out because there's a lot of things that have to be explored before we can say if it's suitable. You have to have a consistent structural section. Since PEG and some of these other streets were done under Subdivision Map Act terms and city standards, we're hoping we have a good structural section there, but we haven't done the coring or done things like that to be able to make sure that this is a viable option for us to utilize. So that's what has to happen with some of this preliminary engineering before we can actually put good numbers to our construction engineering and know what we can and can't do in these areas.
Thank you, Travis. I know we're kind of raking you over the coals here, but it's important.
No, you're good. Ask away.
So if I was to clarify, RAP's real long-term goal is it creates greater long-term longevity on the road.
Correct, by adding to the structural section. So rather than losing this material we've already put down, we're just repurposing.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay.
This is Councilman Heyman. And so when was that Caltrans project completed? Do you know?
The first section was done, I believe, 6 years ago, and the second section was done 4 years ago. And I had my staff drive it, and everybody is very pleased, and I've driven it numerous times, and it's held up excellent. And there's no truer condition than ours and what we see out there, I think. So that's kind of why we've decided to try to look in to see if we would be able to do some of this.
And so the costs incurred are going to be to determine whether or not we could, or that it would be a reasonable option to do, correct?
No. So the cost incurred for this are going to be the cost no matter what. We're going to have inspection. We're going to have consulting engineering stuff during the project no matter what we do. Okay, but what this is doing is essentially going to allow us to do some further investigation, decide if it's going to be worthwhile, and then give us the ability to make any amendment that we need to within that original budget to get the project done.
It both gives them time and gives them an opportunity to look at another possible
solution. Exactly.
Right, could be money ahead, I suppose, if we're
we're
using the future as well.
Yeah, we would have been using it either way to get the project moved. He's just saying we're going to look at some alternatives at the same time in this process that could be beneficial to us in the long run, stability, long-term health of the streets. Because if we can get a structural street, I mean, essentially, if you're saying some of the streets out there are 6 to 4 years, I mean, the key is that they're 6 years under our sun conditions, under our weather conditions, and if they're holding up well, that's an indication of the structural, the fundamental structural qualities, correct?
Correct, and the longevity of. So we see raveling and we start to see degradation within the first 3 to 4 years. I mean, obviously, you look at Ridgecrest Boulevard, you can see that we're starting to have some issues with some of the structural section on that with the cracks, and obviously the earthquake didn't help. And you don't see really any of that on 178 with this process that they use. So that's why we wanted to do our homework and do our due diligence and see if we can utilize some of this and reutilize some of the material that we've already paid for rather than just picking it up and hauling it off and letting somebody else sell it for a profit.
And one of the reasons why they're having to look a little closer at it, because we don't know how the street was put in originally. Maybe Travis can update him a little bit. What happened over on Aileen is probably one of the issues we're having on why we're just not moving forward. There's a little more inspection that needs to be done.
Yeah. So over on Aileen this year, when we took a bunch of cores, and with our scattered cores, we hit a structural section that showed at least 3 to 4 inches of asphalt everywhere on Aileen. But as soon as we started to grind and mill away the top, we found out that we just happened to pick every spot where there was a structural section, that 90% of the street didn't have a structural section. So we ended up having to pay T&M and change order the contractor to fix and do that road and do this work correctly, because we just happened to pick 3 areas of cores that showed a perfect section for the fix that we chose, and it happened not to be. And we actually ended up finding that on the majority of the streets that we have done this year. So it just, we want to try to nip and get as much information up front and nip change orders and nip things that are going to be time and material based in the butt up front before we actually have a contractor on site and when they can hold your butt over the coals.
So we seriously found streets that had no structure?
When I say no structure, so structural section for us is...
I understood that correctly.
Yeah. So structural section for us for a subdivision is like 4 to 6 inches of base, 2 to 4 inches of asphalt, right? That'd be a structural section that's got base, asphalt, then you've got compacted subgrade underneath it. Well, in the case of Aileen had an old Kern County oil sand road that when the subdivision went in, they just paved over the top of it, didn't put base down, didn't put anything down. The only place that had base down was the spots that we ended up coring. And the spots that were 3 to 4 inches thick were the spots we ended up coring. Everywhere else, it was 2.5, 3, so we would leave a bunch of big chunks of asphalt everywhere, and that's obviously not what we want to put new asphalt over. So it's, yeah, in that sense, it's kind of a crapshoot, and we just happen to core it in the exact right places.
For everyone out there in YouTube land, this is why fixing the roads is so important. Okay.
So, and like you said, if we're going to fix it and we're going to actually put money into these streets, we might as well get the most bang for our buck and try to make them last as long as we can, right?
Agreed. Peggy, I know that you're next.
I have 2 questions. The first one is, how long do we need to have, if we've had 4 to 6 years to look at 178 East, how long a time frame do you think we need to have to determine the viability of using that type of work?
I think you could see it, Peggy, within the first 2 years, 3 years, because some of those roads were done at almost the exact same time as Ridgecrest Boulevard. And I would say that the traveled and time and loads and things like that on them are identical to Ridgecrest Boulevard. And that road is held up 3 times better than Ridgecrest Boulevard.
That's what I was going to ask. Is that sufficient enough time? Because to me it seems like an overly long period of time to wait for viability, but we did it because we were looking for viability, but because of those circumstances. The second question I have, you made a comment this is more about the process of securing the bid. You had said you sent out requests for bids to 4 different entities, and the only one who responded was Wildan. And I'm appreciative of all that Wildan has done for us, but I'm wondering, do we need to go further out? What do we need to do, or is it just there's so much business that we got who we got? Do we need to seek further to get more quotes?
You know, I've long thought that as well, and thought that, let's try to expand our horizons and get some more people to bid on this and get some more engineering firms to look at it. I did reach out to one, and they indicated they had so much work right now they wouldn't be able to dedicate the time to it. And the reason why we didn't get the normal 3 that respond to us is because they didn't have the staff available to do this magnitude of a project right now. So I do agree with you. I would like eventually to try to get some more competition, but with the time crunch we were under, we sent it out basically to the 4 that we have worked with before that we trusted, and this is what we got back.
I understand. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll go ahead and pull back from council comments. Any public comments? Public comments from the floor? Public comments on the phone? No public comment. We'll go ahead and bring it back to the council for any final comments. Or do I have a motion for approval of the resolution as presented?
No further comment. I motion to approve.
I have a motion and second.
Please vote. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Thank you, council.
We have already resolved item number 6. We will move on to item number 7. Item number 7 is a public hearing approving the fiscal year 2022-23 annual action plan application regarding the Kern County Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG. And we will go ahead and have Ms. Wagner. Do we open the public hearing prior to her?
Yes, please.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and first open the public hearing at 7:11 p.m. And Narissa will go ahead and begin.
Good evening, Council. So we're here today to hold a public hearing on the CDBG grant for the FY22 year. Staff would like to make a recommendation. I did go over some of the grant qualifications in a couple of slides. So it must be in a disadvantaged area. Eligible projects are recreational improvements, public facility rehabilitation, public facility improvements, water sewer improvements, street drainage, and architectural barriers. So these are 2 maps of the qualifying areas. As you can see, Leroy Jackson Sports Complex is one, and so is the Freedom Park Penny Pool area. So at this point, this is a public hearing, so we would like to receive any input from the community on potential qualifying projects to be considered by City Council for the CDBG grant application. Before we do that, I would like to present my recommendation. And my recommendation would be to make some improvements at the City of Ridgecrest Skate Park. We have held some quality of life meetings as well as have received comments from our community members requesting seating at the skate park. We've explored it more through quality of life. We've had some community members come up to us and ask us for seating with shade for various reasons. At this time, there is no shade area over there. There are no seating areas. So the people who visit the skate park who may not be actively skating are sitting on the fixtures, which is in the way of the people who are skating or riding their bikes or scooters. So this creates a safety issue. It could be, from what we've gotten back, it's part of the issue with a lot of the fights that are happening over there. Some of them are stemming off of people being in the way and not wanting to move. So by using the CDBG funding to add a shaded area, the project would consist of a shade canopy, picnic-style benches, ground-mounted trash receptacles, and it would be placed on a concrete slab. So I went out and obtained some project costs. For estimated, it would be, the initial estimate is $108,346, which is the amount given for the CDBG. So the grant would cover the cost of this project. And staff is also researching the possibility of using a pre-negotiated purchasing contract for this project. The benefits would be, like I said, providing an area for visitors to sit and keeping people that are not skating safe. This project is supported by community members as well as the City of Ridgecrest Quality of Life Committee. And here's some pictures of the skate park, so you can see there's nowhere to sit. The area where I'm looking at, thinking that would be a good spot after even speaking with some of the people who are at the skate park, is right there in front of that light post that you see right off of the street. It's a pretty flat area. When I asked some of the community members that were using the area, they said that they thought that would be the safest spot to add a shaded seating area due to where the fixtures are, and if people's boards come out from under their feet and fly, it's less chance of hitting spectators. So I included a picture of an aerial picture showing where it would be located at. And I also included a picture of the shade structure and seating area that's out at the splash pad. That would be pretty much the exact same thing that we would be putting over at the skate park. So with that, I'm open to any questions.
I just wanted to add to that, that positioning of the structure we took into consideration too in the meetings, the future expansion of other features that we might want to, look at.
Correct.
Expanding the skate park, and so that was a good spot that in the future wouldn't inhibit, expansion in areas and other.
Correct.
Other aspects.
One of the areas that I know I've talked about, and I want to first thank you, Nerissa, for bringing it, and then also want to say big thank you. If this community doesn't understand how important it is to attend the committee meetings, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but hopefully he's watching. Chris Bennett. I have no problem saying his name, telling him thank you very much. He came to a quality of life meeting and he addressed the problem from a different perspective than we had been having it addressed to us, and that makes a difference. So thank you, community, for your input. That does matter, and we thank you for it. I know we talked, and one of the things that we talked about was going the other side so that it could provide the shade to the fields.
Correct.
The challenge, though, is we're talking about a bunch of work over there.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we understand that that doesn't mean that we don't have other plans for around the fields for shade or for other stuff.
Also, even the skate park. I mean, there's been discussion amongst staff as far as some improvements for the skate park itself, too. So if we were to put it on the other side where we initially had discussed, it kind of eliminates some of those expansion options. So.
And then I didn't see it in the proposal. It's not going to be in this proposal. But I would encourage Parks and Rec and the city manager that looking at what we're talking about and where we're talking about and literally where the pole is right there, that cameras be included in the thought process of when the structure goes up, that we may not be able to see under the canopy of the shade. I understand that. But we can certainly make sure, based on where that pole is and where the area we're talking about, that we can see who's going in and out of under that shade structure and what are the conditions. So,
okay,
please. Other council comments?
I like the project, but so the CDBG grant, do we get every year or is it?
We have, this is actually the third one I've brought to you guys. So it looks like we are getting it every year. It used to be Public Works got those funds, but the city manager is giving it over to Parks and Recreation to utilize those funds for right now.
Okay. I'd like to suggest some changes in the application, if you don't mind. Go to the second page, funding sources, project costs. It said the 2019 July 3rd and 4th earthquakes. I think it should be 4th and 5th.
Yep.
I can't forget that, so.
You are correct.
Thank you.
And then Appendix C, just as a banker, I looked at it as a banker's perspective. Said how many persons or households, item number 3. How many persons or households is the proposed project program expected to benefit? And we just said 29,000 population. It looks like it's a vague response. I don't know, so just stuck to me. So what do you think, Mr. Bruin?
I think that it's a government application. Vague responses is appropriate. As crazy as it sounds. Because the hard part is you wouldn't be able to track how many children because you're not going to have a really solid census or how many kids are actually going to skate. Yes. But because it's a shade structure there, I mean, I can have a birthday party there. I can have a family outing. I can have Cub Scouts. I can have a club meeting. I mean, there's a lot of other purposes that the shade structure provides rather than simply to the
Just
skate
the
park. So I think saying that it's an appropriate feature that's being added and an availability to the entire residency of Ridgecrest is appropriate.
Okay. And item B, how many jobs is the proposed project program expected to create? So nobody takes care of this skate park?
It's
I think
already
we should
included.
put at least one or two, probably.
I mean, we could. It's already included in the area that we maintain, so I don't know that it's creating any additional jobs. We have a maintenance man that cares for that facility already, and that area is included.
At least it would retain the existing, right? So
Right.
we should put that one, I think.
1 to 2. Okay, we'll change it.
Because it does say retain.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. We'll change
Okay.
that.
That would be good.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your hard work on this.
You had a few, just a few things that were actually, first off, I am enthusiastically support, but I wanted to, just because everybody else is being real positive, I wanted to add some skepticism for a moment. But it's in a healthy way. I think it's good where you're putting it because, well, how much lighting is at the skate park?
Honestly, I haven't been there at night.
Right, I
really
haven't either. I've been there
visit
during the day
skate
a few
park.
times, but I've never been there during the night. And so my comment is, I like where it is because that allows RPD to patrol and maybe have a better. Anytime you create a shade structure or an area where people are going to congregate, where there's things going on, not just because it's a skate park, you could do it anywhere. You could put a shade structure in the middle of the desert. People are going to congregate underneath it and then do things they're not supposed to do.
Right.
So I like that it's right there for the RPD to look at. I just the lighting came to me because we've been talking about lights a lot, and maybe it's another area where we could put those solar lights you're talking about putting at the park if those work out right. I don't know if your pilot program's quite flushed out yet.
Is there lighting underneath there? Will there be lighting underneath the canopy?
Underneath it, no, but with the Clean California grant, we can always build in more lights around the skate park area, maybe. With that grant to
lighting
kind
that
of
thing up
build
like
on
daylight would be great.
Yeah. Is there any possibility to put lighting underneath there?
I can check into it.
Because I happen to agree with them. Is you're going to have a public park?
Well, even if it's just
you're
it could
absolutely
be
right.
It could be homeless. It could be anybody. And so, is there? I think there is a camera there already.
There is a camera there, but my understanding is that it is not working
It's
right
not
now.
functional. Okay. And I'm wondering if we could work that into getting repairing that or.
I know that there has been discussion with the city manager and all the department heads about getting cameras into the parks. I just don't know how soon that's going to be.
Yeah, they'll be in conjunction with our race project. Council budget an extra $100,000 to get fiber into the parks, and once that's in, we're going to start working on the cameras.
That's what I hope. I was hoping the answer. That's what the answer would be. And the last thing I had was maybe for you, Scott and Eric, was out of Parks and Rec. You said you got one good comment, but are you getting? We're opening up here, but I don't see a lot of participation. But you have had a lot of participation at the committee meetings.
I'm not going to say yes because that would be about as the same participation we all experience. But what was different is that we get communication obviously through social media, emails, through other communication, and we were especially aware of the incidents with the skate park. I think as we all are as council members, that the communications that we got. What was different is we don't get a lot of input, but we got input that was from you guys are having fights and some issues there that you don't understand why some of the issues are happening. And when that came up, as shade became a big piece of that because they're sitting. Okay, I'm sitting with three of my buddies, and I'm sitting on the feature in the center while people are trying to go around, and that's the easiest way for people to start flaring attitudes.
Sure.
Because there's nowhere else to go. And we were originally, I believe, and I apologize about trying to step on Scott's input here. We talked about seating at the skate park about 3 months earlier before this conversation at Quality of Life. Mm-hmm. And we said no. We said it doesn't make sense as a good use because you put more benches. There's a couple of small benches that are on the perimeter. And what they do is they don't become benches. They become features. And I said, what's the point of putting another feature in that becomes useless? And that's where we started talking about shading. And the original idea was the offset to the other direction, and then they've worked through that process to find the right. And then I think what Parks and Rec is doing above everything else is the CDBG money is an opportunity money that we can take an opportunity to solve one piece and then continue to pepper around the pieces from either Clean California or ARP or whatever other grant we can find to create an entire arena of area. And the shade structure in that area is the one area that we know is not going to be utilized by another possible feature or opportunity that's in one of these grant programs.
Sure. Even when I was on the planning commission, I was very much in support of trying to get some shade there or work on the project.
Also, after that quality of life meeting, like I said, I went out to the skate park during the day when people were there, and I spoke to them and asked them, what they thought about adding a seating area with shade, and all of them were like, that would be fantastic. We definitely need that. So, there was some community outreach, I guess you could call it, from me directly. So I definitely think that it'll be a much appreciated area added. And with the location too, we also kept in mind of having it a little bit away from it so that they aren't using it, hopefully, as a feature. It's not like connected to the skate park itself.
They're gonna.
With the hopes that they're not going to.
They're going to. I can imagine. Yeah.
I'm hoping doing like the picnic benches, like what's out at the splash pad, maybe makes it a little bit harder, hopefully. Because they are slatted. They're not solid, so it's not like it's a concrete bench or anything like that. But kids will be kids.
Sure. I will tell you, can I just offer another thing that just hit me? And we talk about our own life experiences, is how we view things. So I've got a 7-year-old that I know if I could put him out in the skate park at noon, he would be, happier than snot. But I also know my wife will never go to the skate park at noon with 3 other kids if there's not a place to put them under some type of cover. And so there is an opportunity here that's not just about teen, adolescent, or even adult, but really also more age bands that I think aren't able to take advantage of it simply because the heat becomes from April until October the anti-everything. So just another perspective to share.
No, I've been in support of it for a long time. Something needs to be done, so I'm glad you're doing it. And that was going to be my last comment was, as long as I've been on the council, you are constantly working these CBG grants. Like, it's a never-ending task for you, and I appreciate you doing it because I've seen the plan that goes into you trying to, you're skipping around different parks and areas, and you're always trying to figure it out. So I commend you for your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more thing? Ron. We have Narissa with now how many active projects, and we're working on possibly 2 substantial additional projects at the moment. I'm just saying ahead of time, when is it we need to start to ask about having not Parks and Rec being in charge of organizing, preparing, proposing, but she might need somebody who's actually a construction or a implementation person, and I'm not saying I'm expecting you to think about it today or the next fiscal year, but I mean, if we hit Clean California, and this, and the softball fields, and Kerr-McGee fields, and I mean, I can see this poor woman becoming extraordinarily overrun by grant money overnight.
Part of the process of we're managing these grants is some of them will have construction management.
Okay, fantastic.
We'll actually hire a consulting firm to come in and help with the design and then help with the management of the construction of it. Because obviously we want somebody overseeing it that actually has that level of experience that can then make sure that whichever contractor we hire is actually delivering the product that they say they're going to deliver.
Fantastic. And that helps the public know, too, that part of those costs aren't going to, that's part of what we're seeking in these grants. So that's awesome.
Correct.
Scott and Peggy?
I think we're good.
Okay, so now next in the public hearing would be public comment. Do I have any public comment on the phones? And do I have any public comment from the floor? Okay, see none. I'll go ahead and bring it back to the council, and I will close the public hearing at 7:30 p.m. Thank you, Narissa. And I will ask if there is a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
So moved.
Well, I'm sorry, as amended with the changes from Councilmember Rajaratnam.
So
Okay.
moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please vote. And Kyle. 5 ayes, motion carries.
Not just me.
Thank you very much, and for the parents and everyone out there, more good news coming. Oh, by the way, Nurse, I forgot to ask: are we going to tear out the vending machine cage at the same time, or use it? How about either one?
The kids have been asking for it to be put back in there.
It just looks funny out there. It's the cage that's hanging out. I mean, can RPD use it in some way around the skate park? No. The concrete. Just playing. So. Got it. Okay. Next item is our committee reports. It is December 1st. None of our committees have yet to meet. RACVB. Well, she didn't put it on the list.
It's because it was a weird meeting. Thank you.
Let's just blame her. She doesn't, and I was there, and I should know it too.
Right, I was like, wait, you were there
I
on
would
Monday.
have probably said it under other committees. RACVB, Megan.
Okay, so I don't have too much for you. They are doing some shuffling around with their financial committee, so they will be making a recommendation at our next board meeting for a marketing committee chair position. And then with their marketing report, they have a goal of 2022 to determine a conversion factor for money spent marketing to the heads and beds that it translates to. So that's their goal for 2022 with their marketing, especially with joining the California Welcome Center network. They're going to have a lot more reach, so their marketing is going to be a lot more robust. Quick update on the Sports Commission events. They held 2 softball tournaments in the last 2 months. They've been collaborating with their youth sports organizations, and we are seeing translation from those tournaments to money spent here in town through vouchers given for restaurants and things like that. So we are seeing that the Sports Commission is bringing economic development here into our local businesses. So they're going to continue working with them to bring more events like that into town. So just a little background on the Petroglyph Festival, which was in early November. The 2021 festival was the 8th annual festival, Petroglyph Festival, and it was a big success thanks to the Chamber of Commerce and RACVB staff and Matt Zubia from the Petroglyph Foundation. They don't have a number of attendees tracked, but they will be tracking those in future events. But they did have 77 vendors that were at that event. They also held the car show simultaneously, which was also a big success. So that was good. They also had the wine walk following that on Saturday night, and that had over 400 participants and raised $12,000 for the fireworks show. So that was a big success, and Katie with Flightline was a big help in that. And let's see, Carrie will actually be here at the next council meeting on December 15th to kind of give you all an introduction to the California Welcome Center. So that'll be good to look forward to. We were there at the Petroglyph Festival. The grand opening was December 5th, and it was a pretty good turnout. They're also looking into ways to promote the Welcome Center to local residents, not just visitors passing through, because it does offer quite a bit of experiences and information about the area. So with that, I think that is everything I have. If you have any questions, or Eric, if you'd like to add anything, I know you were there.
I'm just going to only add one thing, which is, I don't know, how many council members have been in the Welcome Center so far? I know I have. You're the only one? So I would encourage you, obviously, to stop by. And then secondarily, one of the really cool things that I think they've done with the Welcome Center to understand for the community is, if you have a business, a trade group, a social club, something that you work and you have, organized meetings or organized events, the Welcome Center can serve as a meeting and event space as well. And it's something I'm planning on doing, and something that I can just see it's a beautiful way, especially if you are doing something like, I don't know, you're involved in a New Moms to Ridgecrest Club, okay? Everything's about moms when it comes to me. This is the type of place where you say, New Moms to Ridgecrest, let's have our meeting here. And so we can show you other things around Ridgecrest and other experiences. Or you have a new employee recruiting event. The base, if they have a new employee or a welcome tour stops. Here's the top 10 places to stop in town on your first week. That type of thing. Seeing the Welcome Center in that way, I think is just another way that I think there's a lot of perceptions that it's just about trying to bring other people into town, but there are a lot of other uses that it can really facilitate in celebrating our town and celebrating bringing people in to show some of the cool stuff that celebrates what our community is. So that was all I wanted to add. Okay, thank you, Megan. Obviously, I will go back to my statement. It says it's December 1st, so none of our other committees have met yet. It's also December, which means it's the most useless month of the year. It's the most fun, but it's the most useless in terms of getting meetings. So I think City Org has already been canceled. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean if you have something, I know all of us are reading emails or reading texts or messages or, there's plenty of communication, but we also know that we've got staff and things that the world just kind of slows down and goes into hiatus for some reason over this next 30 days.
I got two things.
You have two committees, okay? Kyle?
The first one is Kern Cog, and not a lot of actual actions came out of it, but we get a lot of good updates from Caltrans. They district, I'm gonna screw this up. 9, and then the other district for West Kern. Anyways, we get good reports out of there. So what I did is I got on their mailing list to get any kind of updates of stuff that's going on. I'll just start forwarding that out to the council if they want it. If you don't want it, I can maybe just send it to Megan, some of those updates. If they're big, some of them have likely already happened. There were cases where certain parts of the highway are being shut down and things like that. Not necessarily the city of Ridgecrest, but they're for the valley. So I signed up for their distribution for that. The other thing is tomorrow there is a BLM public roundtable. I have missed so many of those because they keep falling on a day when I'm out of town. What do you know? It tomorrow I can't go either. You can go to it. Okay, so I just want to make sure that somebody can go. They're useful meetings. They're handy to go to, and I'm sure they'd love to see the mayor. That'd be great.
When we canceled City Org, I knew I could fill in because we moved City Org off tomorrow.
Okay. Stellar. Got nothing else?
Well, I don't think I just ever responded to your email and said, yeah, I got it.
I don't know if you did not, but either way, as long as we're good to go.
Any other committees or commissions? I have one, which is I got the pleasure of attending the California Cities Desert Mountain Division annual dinner in Palmdale, and got to meet several people. And I'll share a quick story about one of them, which is I got to meet Deborah Jones, who's the mayor for the city of Victorville. And the first thing I said to her is I said, Debbie, I've been watching every single one of your YouTubes. And she said, oh, dear God. And I said, no, I do it because I want to understand how somebody handles professionalism amongst adversity. And she was so, I think I got her to glow like there's no tomorrow. Because, one of the things that people don't understand, especially in this job and in this role for all of us, is we may not have the experience, but the experience is out there, and there's great people out there to share. And so I had a wonderful evening again to get to know the mayor from Barstow, the mayor from Victorville, and there's some incredible groups out there, and it was a real pleasure. So I just wanted to thank them for letting me be a part of that, and again to meet those people and share some stories. So that was the only other committee. We'll go ahead and go to city manager.
Staff, along with Councilman Blades and Planning Commissioner Bill Ferris, will be heading to the ICSC conference Sunday, Monday, and coming back Tuesday. As you know, in the past, we've had some very, fruitful visits, bringing some new businesses into town. The attendance at this meeting probably will not be as great as it has been in the past because of COVID. However, it'd still be worthwhile to, educate or expose, Megan and then Councilman Blades to, the process of recruiting new businesses. We do have a few meetings that are set up with other businesses to discuss. So we hope it's going to be, a good event. At least will set us up for hopefully what will be a full event in May of 22.
Can I just ask ahead of time just to save myself a social media post? So Costco, Chick-fil-A, Applebee's, any type of clothing store, Kohl's. Everyone out there who gives me their laundry list, guys, remember.
Cabela's.
Cabela. Okay, Cabela. Why don't we put, Bass Pro? It would look great. In and out, sorry.
So part of this process will be exposing Mr. Blades to the process, and he can ask all these representatives of these franchises what it takes to come here. Which actually opens it up to a lot of opportunities, because a lot of our opportunities have been that we do qualify for some fast casual businesses, and others it's just a matter of getting us known and on the map, because we are in the middle of nowhere. So if you are Chipotle, or Holiday Inn Express, you're not normally looking at Ridgecrest to bring a franchise or a business, so you have to go out and introduce yourself and educate those entities of the value that you can bring to their business. So we have seen quite a bit of activity in the retail market, like Panda Express. Panda wouldn't have been here if it hadn't been for council people and staff going to the ICSC conference and along with our consultants and getting ourselves out there and recruiting these type businesses here.
And what the close of that point was, I got the joy of sitting on the other side of this dais for a decade and hear about how this council picks and chooses what businesses come and what business. That's all BS, people. Come on, seriously. If somebody wants to invest in our community, we will gladly take their appointment. We will gladly have a conversation with them. We will see if there is a great partnership that can be built. And just like the ones that we're building right now with the businesses that are nearing completion, the Holiday Inn's nearing completion, Dutch Brothers apparently is on steroids in terms of its growth and expectations. And we have Panda opening today. So again, just out there. It's on record. It's on the video. Go back and look at it. We don't really want to talk to you. We'd love to fill every laundry list hope that you want, but so long as if there's another coffee shop that wants to come in here and build another location and sell the products and to help build our tax base in our community, I welcome them right alongside every other one. That's the fact. I'm so enjoying saying that for the first time in a decade.
We do pay attention to what the comments are to the public, and I think part of this process is just educating council and the staff of what it takes to bring a business here, what that business is looking for in the amount of demographics, of course, cost of living. So there's a lot more to it than that.
Of course. I looked up.
And even if we are a perfect fit, there are some areas where we are in a certain franchise area, and that franchisee may decide not to build here because they have a plan to build 3 other franchise stores in their other areas, and we're 4th or 5th on the list. And
or they have other lease agreements that prevent certain things. There's lots. It's all negotiation, guys. It's called business. It exists. I assure you. Thank you, Ron. That was fantastic. Future agenda items. I have none. Can we all carol at the next meeting? Oh, no. Apparently that didn't go. That went over well. No, we'll just have the captain do it. Mayor and council comments. I'll go ahead and start with Peggy.
I have a question. When we discussed the projects that Narissa brought to us and other members of staff that we might use that other money for, where are we in that process, and when is it coming back to us, the rescue projects? Because I've had some questions, and I even have some questions on projects that I thought sounded good the first time we heard it, and now I'd like to say, well, I don't know if this one is exactly. So where are we with that, and when do we make those comments again?
You will see, I believe Narissa's bringing another project to you guys the next meeting. We can bring that list back in January if you wish. But really what staff is doing right now is moving forward on the projects that we think were the highest priority or the lowest hanging fruit, the ones we could get moving. We are going to be bringing back a resolution, as we stated in the previous meeting, to start on some architectural stuff or GPS plans for the parks to be able to get those mapped out. So when we start these projects, we have a good base mapping process already in place. We develop the plans, but yeah, there are some projects we just we'll continually bring back, and we can, if council wishes, is to let you know ahead of time what projects we're working on and give you a status update.
Well, I had asked that night if we could get a priority list from staff, wondering what your priorities are, so if they commingle with what our priorities are and what we hear from the public, it would be helpful, because without knowing every little thing that happens in each of the departments, it is not easy for us to make those determinations solely on our own.
I can definitely put together a priority list based on what staff think.
Because there's some that I thought were
well, there's some
not
that
needed.
Yeah, there's some that need to get started now if we're going to get on them, because we have only a relatively short period of time.
That's why I want to get 2022 or 2024. Was that where everything has to be in and done by 2024?
They have to be, yes.
And I want to get started on that.
We are meeting weekly on that process.
Okay,
And
all right, thank you.
The first projects I'll be bringing back to council is the first meeting in January. I didn't have enough time to get everything in for the next meeting.
I understand.
So
I'm not pushing for it.
I just wanted to make it clear that it wouldn't be our next meeting.
Okay.
If you noticed, you just approved another one this evening.
Okay.
And you'll have probably another one in front of you. Okay, first meeting in January. But yeah, staff is going to be working diligently to try and get these projects lined up, and we're more than willing to bring back this in whatever format periodically, just to let you know where we're at on it. We can do updates periodically just to let you know, hey, this is what we're working on, this is the next project. I know a lot of these are going to be some of these projects are going to be going through quality of life to be vetted a little bit further before we even bring them to council. So we do have a path.
I figured where it would go next.
That's why, that's one of the reasons why Nurse is we had a conversation. I said, let's pass it through quality of life to the council, right. Because one of the things after the meeting, very honestly to the public, as I said, Nurse, there's 5 low-hanging fruit items here that are no-brainers. They're not highly controversial. They're fixing the roof on the building. Let's get the low-hanging fruit items in motion so that there's positive happening. And when we talked about it, I said, wait, let's bring those items to quality of life, have quality of life, have an open forum and a vetting of those low fruit items, then to the council. So I think if we can, we'll push it through a committee first for that, and then to the next stage to the council. And that'll kind of give you some heads up of what's coming, because we all see the committee agendas that where things are coming, and we welcome inputs at all times.
Yeah, I can anticipate the council seeing projects that involve like lighting in the parks, where we have a single vendor that we can provide that service, the installation on all of those projects at all the parks. Staff is looking at obviously working with the boosters and maybe bringing that project back as a general fund project. And talking to Matt today, it appears that we do have some equipment in our room that could be upgraded to whereas we send our signal to the boosters so they can then re-amplify it. So we're more likely going to have a meeting with the boosters to discuss that further. That'll be a project will come back, yeah. So we're working on that. I spoke to Martin regarding how we can move forward on that yesterday. And so a lot of these projects are bubbling through. But as the mayor said, it's December. Obviously we have, some staffing issues due to COVID. So it's kind of slowed some stuff up. But Otherwise, we're moving forward. Our intent would be is to meet on a weekly basis to continue as staff to get updates so we can figure out how as a group we move forward. And obviously, part of that has to be is keeping you guys informed. So we'll make sure we figure out a way of making sure that happens.
Thank you.
I think we'll probably see the projects about 30 days before they come before the council in terms of either on an agenda or in a discussion item. And at any time, if you have an item that you see maybe moving, just we'll throw it in the future agenda item and have a discussion if there's a concern.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big ones we have is the new field at the Kerr-McGee ball fields. Is that going to be, I think staff's intent is to do a turf field and see how that works out. If that's successful, that may be something we look at in the future. If the baseball, decides that after it's been in for a while they like it, that could be something we migrate to in the other fields or not. So, still a lot of work to do.
Any other council comments? I went Peggy, so Scott, sorry.
So I just want to give a big shout out to Tony Malone on Aileen Street for bringing the Christmas spirit to Ridgecrest. So I think a lot of people probably already know of what Tony does for the community. He goes all out to put on a Christmas display at his house, and this year it's even better than in the past. And he was selected to be on the Great Light Fight television reality show, and so they were here filming Sunday and Monday, and it was a busy place around his house for a couple days. But anyway, so he is up and running, and it's a great display. He's added more features to it this year. It's pretty fantastic. I think it's a great contribution to our community, and so if you get a chance, you got kids, or you just want to go for a ride and look at lights and the animatronics and stuff that he has there, and the lighting, and it's a great event. So anyway, and I got to say, he had the crew and cast from that television production in tears. It was pretty great. So good luck to them. It will air next November. They film like a year ahead. So everybody will bring it to everyone's attention again later in the year, but it'll be pretty exciting. Hopefully he does really well. So that's it.
Solomon? No, sir. Mr. Blades?
Yeah, a few things. First, thanks, Chief. I think I saw that Captain Dampier was putting out a over Thanksgiving, looking like buzz driving. He was just letting the community know that they're on the lookout. Probably no more than usual, but RPD is always all over it. Appreciate it. I think back to I grew up here in this town, so I think back when I was a kid, and it's no knock on former Chief Strand, but I think that I caveat it with the reason I added that caveat is that I've only seen RPD get better, and I think that's a good thing. That shows good leadership. Ever since I was a kid, you hear people complain, you hear kids complain, and you know what? The kids I was hanging out with were probably troublemakers. That's probably why we were complaining. And but I've only seen RPD get better. So thank you for the job that you guys are doing, and I appreciate getting the emails. I haven't been as active on social media for like the last month and a half. So anybody who's watching and they're wondering, I didn't fall off the face of the map. I've just been busy, and I was out of country for a little while, but I'm back, and this is my favorite month. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you to the staff. I know you guys hear it a lot, and the public is probably tired of hearing it. It seems like we're always just buzzing up the staff. We're just talking. It's because, at least in the last, it's been 2 years now I've been on the council, and that's another thing that I've seen increase exponentially is the work that, not that they weren't doing the work before. It's just, Ron, I don't know if you're just pushing them harder or what, but they're doing that much more work that I'm seeing. Maybe it's just visible to me now because I'm on the council, but thank you guys for, I see Parks and Rec, Narissa, you're doing fantastic job. And Megan, you hit the ground just running real fast. Thank you for that. The website there's tons of features on there. I had somebody ask me about a data package, and I said, well, just jump right to the website. It's a lot easier to get around. It's all out there. It's so much easier. There's tons of buttons. I think I just saw a social media post about if you have a business in Ridgecrest, now's the time to renew your license. I think it's right. The business licenses are up. You can do that from the website. These are just small things that, City of Ridgecrest, we'll get there, right? We're getting up to speed. We're coming along. So I think that's probably the extent of what I have for now, and thank you.
So, I think you were one of those hooligans, considering you were the first one to think about what we would do at the shade structure.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Just for the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never got arrested or anything.
Exactly. We don't. What happened in our youth stays in our youth. Let me begin.
Not in Ridgecrest. No.
That's why you relocate.
Yeah.
Keep it back in LA. Let me just again thank the callers today, Mr. Boyd and Kathy Brown. I can't tell you how much it means to us as a council when you guys tell us, not pat us on the back, but tell us that what we're doing is the right direction and the right course that you believe for this community, and it is rewarding to hear. And as Kyle said, we are constantly supporting and encouraging our staff, and I got to tell you, it's all attitude, guys. When you are up here and we're smiling and we're enjoying ourselves and we're excited about what we're doing and we're building a community, attitude is everything. And I think you can see that in our callers and in our public. And I thank the public for getting involved and giving us the opportunity to do a better job for you.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Sure.
I think this is one of the only communities, because I've talked to other council members in other towns, this is one of the only communities where you can get a hold of a Ridgecrest City Council member on the phone and say, hey, will you come look at something for me? This is what's going on in Ridgecrest. And I just did it last week. I got in my car and drove over and looked at something because somebody was asking me to do it. That's the good thing about Ridgecrest. That's just another reason why I like this community, and I'm going to be here for the long term. But it speaks to the impact that if you just get involved, we only know what we hear. We can only take the input that we get. We rely on our staff heavily. We rely on each other if we can. Other than that, we need people to be involved. We need you to. Otherwise, I'm going to be answering the same 3 people's phone calls and the same 5 people's text message and the same 10 people's Facebook messages. So. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. I don't mind. And like I said, I just want to reiterate that positiveness because it is a lot, serving your community is a lot of fun when you're doing good with it. It's a pleasure to do it. I want to say again, it puts a smile on my face, and I will be sleeping thinking about it tonight. For the first time in at least 10 years, having the opportunity from the dais to quash the incredible. We don't want restaurants because they're going to compete with other restaurants. Rumor theory, which has been the stupidest thing I think I heard for years. So I'm going to smile about that one. And Chip, that's all for you for all those years that you took a beating over that one. Finally, I don't usually try to blend, work the 2 work jobs, but I didn't say it in council announcements because it's not a community announcement, but it's my final closing. I invite everyone to come and join Desert Valleys on December 11th. We have a free Santa photo, and more importantly, we're just excited to see people out smiling and taking pictures and being part of this community again. Come on over after the Elks Parade. Go to the Elks Parade. Go to Santa's Art Shop. Be a part of this community. It's a beautiful time, and I hope to see all of you guys at the tree lighting on Friday. And other than that, happy holidays, and we'll see you on the 15th.
Awesome.
Thank you.